Welcome to the Vitality Lounge, a place where the uncomfortable questions become comfortable, where conversations, topics, and expert guests unlock the keys to vitality, empowering you to embrace the vibrant life you deserve. Now here's your host, Micol Bok.
Today's guest is a wellness entrepreneur, speaker, and visionary behind one of the fastest growing healthcare franchises in the country. The brand stands for vitality not as a luxury, but as a lifestyle. So help me welcome today at the Vitality Lounge, Sam Tejada. Hey Sam, welcome to the Vitality Lounge.
Hey, I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I always like to start the podcast asking about what vitality means to you. There's so many different ways of interpreting that word. So what does it mean to you?
Ooh, there's a lot behind vitality. So vitality for me, it encompasses three things: mind, body, and spirit, right? It's about being able to fulfill all three of those to truly have strong vitality. So for me, when it comes to vitality, if I have the ability to have a mind that's sharp as a tack, where I can make very good decisions, positive decisions, right? Because we have our own will, right? That we can make decisions go two different ways. That's one. And then our body is extremely important, right? I'm a biblical guy, so your body's the temple of God. So part of that is you have to take care of that body so it can perform the way that it needs to. And then spirit, it's I personally believe everybody should have a spiritual belief, regardless who you believe in, or if it's just a universe or a greater power. And having that connection with a greater power is going to allow you to really fulfill that full vitality.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you split vitality in three. It totally makes sense, for sure. How do you live that, actually? How do you embody vitality? You said these three things, but in actionable items, what does that mean to you?
I mean, exactly what you said, actionable items, right? You have to be able to perform on those three things on a daily basis, right? Every single morning when I wake up, I begin. I start off with meditation. I do my different supplements, my peptides, moving my body. Yes. A lot of people like to go straight to exercise. I'm the kind of person that utilizes the word movement. Yeah, earlier on in my early 20s, I used to be big into exercising, hitting every single muscle, and I did bodybuilding. That's not for me no more. Yeah, no. For me, it's just move your body. If you can get yourself to move your body consistently for at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, you're going to do more than what most people do.
That's so true. Yeah.
So doing those actionable items. When it comes to the spirit portion of it, that's a connection, where prayer, affirmations, things of that nature would feed into that.
I'm going to piggyback on what you just said and how your routine changed a little bit from how when you were younger to now. Can you kind of go into that a little? Because I think our audience as well might be interested into that. A lot of times in our 20s, we're like, okay, I just need to get big or, and focus on that. And then ultimately, you probably age faster, get hurt, and not really focus on your health if you do that, which is the opposite of what you're trying to do. And as you mature, you realize, I probably wouldn't have that knee ache if I didn't train that hard 10 years ago. So how did that look for you?
That's exactly it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head on that one. So it's I remember in my 20s, when CrossFit was getting very popular, I would participate. There's no way you're ever going to see me at a CrossFit gym. For me, that's just has a label of injury ready to happen. And I remember, growing up listening to the older people, the people that were probably around my age, right? I'm 38, pushing close to 40. And people would always say, don't injure your back. Don't do this, avoid injuries. And, when you're in your early 20s, you really don't pay attention to that because you don't even know. Seriously, you don't even know what an actual back injury is. And now, since I hit 30, my goal is prevent any kind of injuries, be able to just live a healthy, good life with vitality and vigor. You know, that's really what it comes down to. So the change since my early 20s changed, tremendously. Yeah. In my early 20s, it was about, how you said, being big, the muscles, you know, having the trapezius muscles popping out, you know, competing, even the way I would eat. I remember I would go to the grocery store, to Publix, and I could buy like everything on one hand, like 5 ingredients: asparagus, broccoli, chicken, tilapia, you know, and some steak.
Repeat.
And repeat. And for me, it's just like, that's no way to live. Number one, it's not even healthy because you're not getting your micros and macros that you're supposed to get. And I'm doing it not for health purposes. I'm doing it just so I can transform my physique into a certain way that it's attractive for bodybuilding or to go party or whatever it is. So, you know, especially now that I'm in the longevity space, for me, everything that I do is specific to being able to live a very healthy life, you know, and that goes down with, you know, cognitive health, you know, my brain health, being sharp as a tack, making sure my immune system is where it needs to be able to be well protected and not get sick, not get any kind of chronic illnesses, things like that. You know, that's what I make as my primary focus when it comes to health.
Yeah, I love you used a word that is prevention, right? And sometimes, or at least modern medicine has always been, okay, I feel sick, let me take something. And you go to the doctor when you feel something already. Instead, the whole longevity philosophy is going back to preventing, taking care of myself in every aspect of life, as we were saying. So tell me a little bit about what is prevention to you and how you embody that also in your work and the franchise that you opened and you're very successful with.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm going to bring up that's very important for people to understand, there's a huge difference between prevention and early detection.
Yep.
Right? Early detection is important, so you know we can fix things before they become a really bad issue. You know, this is why, like, my business, Liquivida, we do the comprehensive blood work and all of that stuff is to catch things early where then it doesn't become reactive. But prevention is really the true cure, right? It's preventing anything from going out of whack. Yeah. So when it comes to prevention, that's where you really have to take that proactive approach to your health and wellness and do things for it to, you know, prevent itself from actually becoming a problem. So the number one thing is what you put in your body. You know, the things you get exposed to. We forget
about that sometimes. Eat. Or you were saying, I eat asparagus chicken every day. Well, that's not enough, though.
Right.
There's so much more to it.
Yeah. And getting yourself educated to understand, like, truly what your body needs. You know, our bodies perform based off of specific nutrients, you know, vitamins, minerals, amino acids. Are you getting the stuff that your body needs for it to actually perform at the level that it needs to, right? And I'm talking about all of your different systems in your body, your organs. Are you feeding it the nutrients that it needs for it to be able to naturally detoxify a lot of the things we get exposed to, like these toxins in the environment, toxins in the food? So that step of being educated on yourself is crucial for prevention.
Yeah. I mean, that's also one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is really, okay, let's put this information out there, educate people on the different forms of how to embrace vitality overall, and then preventing injuries, preventing illnesses allows you to keep vitality in the long term, right?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned with Liquivida, which is your company, you do a lot of that. If I am a person that is healthy, you know, and theoretically healthy, wants to come over and I want to prevent everything that I can, what would be the steps that you would tell them to do, and what would you tell them to kind of do?
So the first step is understanding your body.
Yep.
And how are we going to understand your body? The first step I'm going to do is what's called a lifestyle assessment and questionnaire. I want to know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis that might be affecting your health.
Yeah.
And part of that could be the type of job you have, right? Are you a police officer? Are you a firefighter that's getting exposed to toxins, that has sleep deprivation? Are you working in a factory that has certain type of chemicals there? Are you high stress? Are you sitting all day, or are you moving? So part of that is really understanding what you're doing on a day-to-day that's affecting your overall health. Certain habits. Are you drinking every single day? Are you putting alcohol in your system every single day? What kind of effects might that have on your overall health? Do you smoke? Do you exercise? Are you getting full sleep? Are you utilizing any wearables that give me that information of how good your sleep is? Your deep sleep, your REM cycles, all of that stuff. So that's the first step. And then from there is where we start taking a deep dive on your own personal health data, right? Doing the comprehensive blood work, looking at all of your different systems, looking at your micronutrients deficiencies, looking at inflammation markers. Then we're doing body composition analysis. We utilize a DEXA scan. So we're looking at what your body's made up of versus getting on a regular scale where it just tells you total weight. I want to know what your body's made up of, how much lean mass you have, how much visceral fat you have, how much subcutaneous fat you have. So then as we put you through your health journey, we can trend these things and see if you're going in a negative direction or a positive direction. Yeah. So then we have other diagnostics that we do as well too. More on the cardiology side, pulmonary side, we do a VO2 max, which is looking at cardiovascular health. It's looking at pulmonary health and also cellular health. And then we do the RMR, which is the rested metabolic rate, to see how many calories you're burning at a rested, fasted state. Yep. And then from there, we can customize certain nutritional programs, your macros, your micros, depending on what your goals are. If you want to lose weight, put on some lean mass, or just maintain your overall health. So for us, when it comes to prevention, is really understanding your own personal health data. Yeah. So we try to empower everybody to understand that, and that's how you truly take control of your health.
Yeah, I think what is very important is customization, right? What works for you would not work for me.
Right.
Everybody is different. Every lifestyle is different. So the way you approach it has to be unique to your own self. Now, if someone is at the beginning of this process and doesn't know where to start, what would you kind of recommend them to do if they're not able maybe to go to a Liquivida or they don't have that close by? What would be the first things that take in check?
Well, there's a lot of these type of tests that can also be delivered to your home, where you do something as simple as like a finger stick and put a drop of blood.
I just did one of those.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So that'll give you some visibility, right? And not only that, but also your wearables, like your Apple Watch, your Oura Ring. Like I have an Oura Ring on right now. Yeah. So these things give you more visibility of your overall health, and it allows you to take control of your health. Yep. So I feel like these are some of the things that if people don't have a Liquivida or one of these other wellness centers nearby, there are other tools that they can utilize to really start taking control of their health.
Yeah, for sure. And I hear you talk a lot about sleep, and we sometimes forget that the basic things are the most important things, right?
Yeah.
Sleep, nutrition, it's so important, and yet we forget. And society nowadays, we're so always like running, let's build something, or I need to rush here, and we don't take a moment to actually analyze where are we at, what are we doing. What is your approach there?
Sleep is everything. That's where you recover. That's your ability to actually reboot. If you don't get good sleep, and this is coming from someone who worked at the fire department for 12 years, where sleep deprivation is a real thing. And when you're like fatigued at the point, the sleep deprivation part, like you'll even start hallucinating.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I get one night of bad sleep. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
It's
5
rough.
PM, it's rough.
So for me, like when I retired from the fire department, the first thing I told myself is I'm never waking up to an alarm clock. My body will wake up when it says it's ready to wake up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I only sleep about 5 hours max. Okay. But mind you, I go to sleep when my body tells me to go to sleep. Now, I do prepare myself to go to sleep. So I stop eating a few hours beforehand. I start to wind down. Also, I use red light therapy. Sometimes I use a red filter on my phone before I go to sleep.
Super important as well.
Yeah. So for me, I do prepare, but I don't wake up to an alarm clock. I wake up when my body tells me to wake up. And then I'm fully rested. I don't do multiple cups of coffee throughout the day. I don't have a midday crash. I'm good. I'm energetic and I feel good. Now, mind you, I also do a bunch of other, biohacking techniques and modalities that feed into that as well too.
Yeah. You said you worked in the fire department, and now you're the founder of a big franchise that is known all over the country. How was that switch? How did that happen?
Yeah, that wasn't the plan.
It kind of, but somehow.
Yeah, it kind of happened. When you work at the fire department, most firefighters have some kind of other side gig on their days off to supplement their income. And that's what Liquivida was. And, I started Liquivida. I was actually working with a company on my days off from the fire department called Cenegenics. And Cenegenics, they're one of the pioneers in the functional medicine space. And I had a lot of their patients that were some of the wealthiest people on this globe. And what I did on my days off, I'd go to their homes and draw their blood, every 3 months. So I built some really amazing relationships. I did that for almost 6 or 7 years for them. And I had some of these patients that had homes in other parts of the country, California, Colorado, and they would always tell me about this IV nutrition that they were doing and how the technician that would do it was an off-duty firefighter paramedic. So after I had the 5th patient tell me about this, I was like, man, you know what? Let me look into it, because they keep on asking about it. They say they really don't have access here in Florida to do these vitamin drips. And I saw what people were doing, people that would potentially be my competition, which now a lot of them are my customers. I saw what they were doing. I said, you know what? I can do it, and I can do it better. I can create a very comfortable spa-like feel type of setting and offer an experience alongside with a great product. So I pitched my idea to a chiropractor who had a wellness clinic near my house called East West Physicians. And his main focus as a chiropractor, he integrated Eastern and Western medicine together. So he took a very proactive, preventative approach to health and wellness, utilized a lot of nutraceuticals. He had a medical doctor there that did a lot of procedures, did a lot of aesthetic treatments and whatnot. And they did a mixture of other different services like hydroclonic therapy, acupuncture, massage, physical therapy. And just like most doctors, they typically have a room that's just collecting dust, right? So I told him, I went there and says, hey, doc, I have an idea. I got a business proposition for you. I'll go ahead and invest my own money. You give me this room. You provide the medical director. You have the front desk staff. I'll come and I'll work this business division, and I'll give you 20% of the revenues that I make out of this location.
Nice.
So for him, he's got this room collecting dust.
Why not, right?
Yeah, he won the lottery,
do whatever.
In other words. So that's how Liquivida was launched. And it was just a side gig. And I was doing no marketing. And I was getting people driving an hour and a half to come get these IV trips. They were just finding me. So at that point I was like, man, I got something. So then that's why I started actually putting the pedal to the metal and, getting to work. Yeah. And now it's Liquivida, this nationwide company. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great story. Sometimes you don't plan for it, but you find something that sparks your interest in the path that you're in, but also that is important, and you see there's a market for it. And I mean, the market is just growing nowadays.
Oh, it is. It is. And I started with IV therapy, but being in the industry of functional medicine stuff and just, my mentor was Dr. Willicks, who was the chief medical officer of Cenegenics. And I was with Dr. Willicks since I was 19 years old, So I got into the functional medicine space for almost 2 decades. I've been in it for almost 2 decades. And working in the fire department, I was part of that broken allopathic traditional medical system. Yeah. And I just really started realizing year after year, being in the functional medicine space, that our medical system's broken, and I was a product to that medical system. And it got to the point, about 6 years into growing Liquivida, where I just said, you know what? I'm doing everybody a disservice not focusing 100% on Liquivida and giving people really what they need when it comes to health and wellness. The fire department got me to a certain stage, but I can no longer be part of that broken system.
Yeah. So it truly is a broken system, and I think we're realizing more and more about that, like how modern medicine is wonderful in certain ways because it has helped treat and take care of crazy surgeries or needs, but at the same time makes also all of us a little more sicker day by day.
It does. And listen, at the end of the day, like if I fall, trip, and break my leg and the bone is popping out, like, vitamins and minerals are not going to fix it.
No, right? It's
I
hello.
have to go to the ER to get that, fixed. But, your traditional medical issues that people are having, cardiovascular issues, hypertension, diabetes, these are a lot of things that can be prevented.
Yeah.
Through good nutrition, through exercise, and then also supplementation.
Yeah.
So, for me, one of the things that I was seeing at the fire department, which this is the thing that really started becoming very bothersome, is we get these 911 calls. We'd go to these patients' homes, and part of you taking them to the hospital in the ambulance, you got to get a medical history. You got to understand what medicines they're taking and everything else. And when I would ask the family members, like, hey, what kind of medications are they taking? I'd get these bags.
List.
A lot of them didn't have the list, so I had to create the list for them, right?
Crazy.
For the report for the doctor. And they'd bring these bags and these baskets with all these medications from multiple different doctors. They're going to cardiologists, they're going to the orthopedic. No one communicates with each other.
No one.
So you got medications that are contradicting each other, And I had patients that would have 20 to 30 bottles of medicine.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm just thinking, it's like, this person is only alive because the chemicals are keeping them alive at this point,
Yes, where's your own chemicals? They're not working anymore.
And I would just see that. It's just, this is not okay.
No.
This is not okay. And the thing is society has made it to a point, our medical system has made it to a point where people allow it to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's just like, oh, you're not feeling good here, take this pill.
Yeah.
And it's a Band-Aid. It's not even fixing the root cause.
Exactly.
So,
it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
So I'm European, right? And I feel like modern medicine is everywhere. But I came to the US and I felt that was even more of a thing. It's like as soon as I sneezed or I had a cough, oh, take this. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's okay. Let me eat some garlic first.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a philosophy that we're starting to talk about it more. But again, like we are so detached somehow from our bodies because of where we are with society that we don't realize, hey, 100 years ago, people still treated themselves with natural ways or in ways that are preventative, that make sense, that function with your body and are not just chemicals that you're putting in and create toxins within yourself, which is crazy.
And this is why I'm so happy about what's happening right now with the new administration. There's a big movement, Make America Healthy Again. And it's part of this. It's like, it's been a corrupt system, right? You got everything from the big, tobacco companies from back in the day, their lobbying efforts, and the tobacco companies investing into the food companies and utilizing those lobbying people to lobby for the food companies and put all this toxic, poisonous, addictive chemicals inside of the food. That this is what's happening to our world. I mean, you have so many children that are getting these diseases that you would never see at that age, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that we have to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
No.
We're becoming a nation, a toxic nation.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see this whole Make America Healthy Again movement. I'm happy to be a part of it and participating in it with all of the leaders that are there. And it's time to make a change.
Yeah. Funny also when you said the food, again, being European, things are a little more natural, I would say. So I used to eat very fresh vegetables that came from my neighbor if possible. And then I came here and my body had a whole lapse of things I didn't understand anymore. I was still eating healthy, but my skin was not the same anymore. I gained weight and I was like, what is happening? And just the food quality and toxins that are put into the nutrients nowadays, especially, I don't want to say in America, but it is one of the biggest country that has this problem, was insane for me. And I'm like, okay, let me restructure a little bit and figure out what to do next. How you said you're part of this movement, right? And if not actively involved, where do you see the direction of healthcare in general go into? Like, what are the big things that are happening nowadays that you're very excited about?
Well, I think the most important part is looking at a lot of these proactive, preventative approach type of modalities and treatments that are becoming mainstream, right? In a lot of these type of treatments, this is what is, in my opinion, is going to become part of primary care. And it should be.
Hopefully,
right?
That's what it should be.
And part of the whole Make America Healthy Again movement is to be able to give people access to some of these things, you know, and be able to actually utilize some of these tools that we're using in the functional medicine space. And then maybe, you know, down the line, hopefully, you know, some of these insurance carriers will cover some of these type of modalities that are offered.
Yeah. Do you see doctors going against this movement because they're just used to what it was, or do you see a more open approach towards it?
I'm starting to see a lot of the younger doctors that are becoming doctors now, becoming, you know, adapting to it, you know, because they're woke. They understand. They see it. You know, it's very hard to continue to hide this through, you know, the information that they're feeding out in these educational platforms. Like, people are actually seeing it. Like, if you went back about 15 years ago and you started talking about a lot of these treatments and modalities that are offered, people were scared to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, if you did talk about it, you could get in trouble.
Yes.
You know, you could have a lot of the governing bodies down your throat. Now it's to a point where there's so many people talking about this, they can't stop us.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it's not just about like random doctors talking about it. Now you have people in very powerful roles in government speaking up about it.
Yeah.
So now, you know, when you talk about people that have big pharma in their back pocket, where now they're going to try to, you know, press you in different ways financially and bury you and basically silence you and censor you, that's not happening no more. Like, now it's like, even like when I bring people on my podcast, some of these experts are a little like hesitant. Is it okay if I say this? I say whatever you want.
Yes,
because
free.
right now this is the time to say whatever you
agree.
want. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's a big shift in the last couple of years, but also I would say since COVID, I think there's a big boom, right? People realize, wait, health is like huge and so important. How can I take care of myself? And realize that it's not modern medicine that brings them there, right? And you can see that also, I think, with all the conferences and different events that are popping up everywhere nowadays. I know you have a big one coming up as well, right?
We do. That's in September, the weekend of the 26th. We have the Vibe Conference. So that's actually put on by the American IV Association, which I was appointed as the chairman back in January 2024. Amazing. And our goal with that was to have a conference for the industry, which is the VIBE stands for Vitamin Infusion Business Expo. So last year was the first year. We have had about 500 attendees. These are medical professionals, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, and stuff. This year, we expect to have about 3 times the amount.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
So it is growing. The interest is growing. People are looking into it. Doctors are looking into it. And if I'm a consumer, for example, if I'm a patient and I'm looking to dive deeper into this, are there events that you know of that they could go into, maybe resources to look into, anything that you could recommend? Yeah,
there's a lot. I think one of the best things for a consumer to do is start listening to a lot of these podcasts that are out there. Well, there's so many experts going on these podcasts and talking about what's happening and a lot of the science of what's happening with a lot of these type of services and modalities that are out there, and different things that you can do that are not expensive, right? That you could do at your home, you know, and it just requires you to be educated on it. And I always tell people, it's like the most important part when it comes to like you taking care of your health, or like when it comes to biohacking, is what you're going to say no to. Forget about the supplements and adding stuff to your routine. Think about what you have to just stay away from to begin with. Because if you stay away from a lot of these toxic things that are out there, you've already done about 50% of the work.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And I think educated and curious. Sometimes we forget to be curious, and there's so much there. So be curious.
Yeah,
learn.
question things.
Question things. Don't take anything for granted. I mean, you go to the doctor and you take a pill and it's like, okay, well, the doctor told me so. I'm not discouraging go to the doctor. It's important. But question, like, what is inside this? Like, what are the effects of it?
Right.
Read those, the sheet, which right now I don't have the name for that, but like read and learn a little bit more about it. And we have so many resources like Google, ChatGPT nowadays are huge, right? So just ask and be a little more curious, because it's actually getting easier to know more about all of these things.
It is. And people are very vocal about it. We live in such a digital world, so people are actively posting. Even the people that you would think would not be on social media, you know, that are some of these doctors that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, like they got teams that they might not be actively on there pressing the send button or whatever, but they're taking their content and it's going up there. So it's like all you have to do is just really start navigating and hearing a lot of the stuff that's happening and reading about it as well too. Yeah.
If there's like a motto or a word of advice that you live by and that you kind of want to share with our audience, what would that be?
If there was a model that I would live by is the one thing I would say for the listeners of this podcast is it is up to no one else but you, right? There's people out there that call themselves healers. We label them as healers or guiders that will guide you in the right direction. But at the end of the day, if you're not committed and you make that commitment for yourself, nothing's going to change. So you have to take control of your own health. And it starts with just you know, getting in the right mindset and taking control of your health.
Wonderful. Sam, if someone is looking up to you or wants to see what you do, follow Liquivida, where can they find you?
So they can easily just Google me, Sam Tejada, and you'll see everything that pops up. But I'm active on the social media platforms. Yes. You can find me on Instagram. It's Sammy, SAMMY _Tejada, TEJADA. I have my website, samtejada.com, or you can go to liquivida.com as well too.
Amazing. And you also wrote a book, right?
I did. I wrote a book called How to Win in Modern Wellness, where I took a lot of the sharp minds in the industry, and they all got a chapter in the book, and we're talking about how we're winning in the world of modern wellness together.
I love that.
So that was my first book. My second book I'm finalizing now, which talks about my story of entrepreneurship. And then I have my third book that I just started called Your Wellness Data. So that kind of like
everything what we talked about.
It really, that book, the whole purpose behind Your Wellness Data is to be able to give someone basically a tool, the book, so they can understand the different tools that are out there for them to take control of their health.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and so it's good to have a guide to follow,
I agree.
right?
100%.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for being on the Vitality Lounge.
No, thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Vitality Lounge with Micol Bok, powered by Gainswave. Make sure to subscribe to the Vitality Lounge wherever you get your podcasts. Gainswave is a clinically proven therapy that allows you to embrace vitality both in the bedroom and in your life. Whether to improve and boost performance, pleasure, and confidence, head on over to Gainswave.com. Thanks for listening.